It is interesting to compare the cultural differences in lifelong learning between the four different countries that I study. Brazil, Botswana, China, and Nordic countries each represent different geographic and economic locations in the world. I would expect that each of these unique countries would have their own lifelong learning culture. Brazil and China are very similar in how they treat their older generation. Both countries have a strong family structure and keep their older parents in their home with their children. It is also common in Brazil and China for parents to move to their children's home for the children to taking care of them. This is a stark contrast to our Western culture, where the trend is for the children to move back to their parents' home to be taken care of by the parents again. I like the China culture saying never too late or never too old to learn. This is such a great wisdom. I like this concept in lifelong learning. Brazil and China have a different style of lifelong learning. In Brazil, older adults prefer to go places, visit theater, and travel around to learn. In China, they prefer to learn online, and their social interaction will be activities such as dancing. Botswana have lifelong learning through formal education. Group of older adults will teach young kids to taking care of themselves. Government provides funds for everyone to attend public university. The concept of lifelong learning is passed from older generation to their children. The older generation are a role model for the younger generation. Respect and wisdom are highly anticipated in Botswana culture. Botswana is similar to the Chinese culture when you look at decision making. Older people tend to have more say in this culture. Nordic country. When looking at Sweden, I think it is wonderful that government strongly support continual learning for the older generation. It is comforting to know that the older generation do not have to worry about how they can keep up with young generation. The Swedish government provides a strong financial backing for older generation to continue their lifelong learning. In terms of family structure, the Nordic countries are different from Brazil and China, possibly because older generation is taken care of by the government. The Swedish older generation seem to drift away from the young generation. With this strong sense of security from the government, the Swedish older generation do not need to rely on their children to taking care of them when they get older. It is interesting that they can celebrate a marked age achievement when they reach 50 years old. In conclusion, unlike what I expected, several of the countries have very similar philosophies concerning lifelong learning and actively support continuing education. The style of how its continuing learning is achieved is what separates these countries. The family structure dictates how this learning can be shared with children and younger generation and varies from country to country. Freedom of movement can separate the style of learning as well as the family structure dictates the interaction between the older and the younger generation. Thank you for listening.